This is group stalking, Maria Solis Alvarez, and the entity's flying over in this direction right behind. This is group stalking in the parking lot, and this is the regional manager. This is, again, management engaging with federal group stalking and monitoring. This is exactly what Don Noggle engages in. This is management. Management of Todd Speaker's company engaging in workplace terrorism, harassment. This is the same exact group stalking system. Crossing path, doing so in concert with the people of the state. The light source is over my head while I'm at the same exact address. Okay? And it is currently, by the way, 3:56 p.m. This is the light source. It is, let me see, 3:56 p.m. indeed. This is P.O.C. The entity vibrating my office. This is called stalking in the path. And this is management representing speaker companies that are engaged in state terrorism and doing so in concert with the state of California. Yeah, both of them. This is P.O.C.
Hey, so, Mesrab?
This is audible activity creation.
Mesrab is not coming here, but they have to come back tomorrow to do it. This is too late in the day.
Okay.
So they'll be here at 9 to do it.
Okay.
Sounds good?
Uh-huh.
Cool. We'll do that.
You know what time it is right now?
It is 2 to 4.
3:57, thank you. P.O.C. All right, flying directly over me. The light source is directly over my head, okay? Abigail Peckman's doing the same thing she knows was documented yesterday. She's going to federal prison. 9KNH 175. Or excuse me, 725. They all know they're going to federal prison. It's not a coincidence, and it's not pursuant to some schedule. They're monitoring documentation. And the demon-possessed, they're psychotic, okay? You can place a light source from the beginning to the end of the day, every day, and that's documentation of what is impunity and a demonic system of terrorism, and that's going to serve for what is a long time in federal prison. It remains a specific environment. Were you talking to me? Oh, okay. This is P.O.C.
I was going to throw away the trash.
I'll beat you to it.
Make sure I didn't leave any trash.
Alrighty, and that was a crossing a path while she's here. P.O.C. Leaving now?
Yeah.
Bye, have a good one.
See you tomorrow.
Oh. All right, that is indeed Speaker Companies. While she is on the phone, which is a communication device, as I documented last week, and in concert with Teresa Becerra, asking me questions. She's a group stalker. This is the entity that is engaged in relevant positioning group stalking with LAPD in the specific environment. This is the same specific environment, and it's the same federal stalking on the venue of the internet in concert with that same corrupt law enforcement agency, the Los Angeles Police Department, a demon-possessed agency, a demon-possessed law enforcement agency engaged in state surveillance, together in concert with the people of the state. If you'll recall that documentation that I captured, Teresa Becerra, who's also engaged in what is criminal conduct on a communication device in violation of Title 18, a part of the same entity, engaged in what is federal stalking and group stalking in concert with this same exact entity, under the guise of what is an official position, a state actor, as you are utilizing your bar license, and you are also simultaneously engaged in state surveillance, which is terrorism. This is why Teresa Becerra is going to federal prison, and she's also done permanently with the legal profession, and it shall be a matter of public information as to why. Terrorism, while using something such as your medical license, your license to practice law, while acting in concert with the corrupt entity that is engaged in terrorism, state surveillance, it is the grounds to lose that licensure. And that's exactly what I documented. While LAPD is repeatedly on that video that I captured, it's over an hour, that third party, Maria Solis Alvarez, is group stalking while her voice is audible activity on this communication device in concert with LAPD that is group stalking today under what is not the light source, and they were group stalking, as I documented last week, and maintaining the specific environment. All elements were present then as well. This is a demonic system, and this is a highly malicious entity that is monitoring documentation. That's the only purpose for the covering up the light source. It is under all circumstances not the natural weather, because again, the sun is never rising and setting at one address, okay? That's the entity that is psychotic, that's very severely obsessed. The source of this obsession was somebody that they do not personally know, but I want to be clear, spiritually speaking, the demons that are on this entity, they know me very well, and they are obsessively stalking. It's group stalking, and that is shared, okay? That condition is exactly what is wrong with Dominic Choi and the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department that are acting in conformity to a long documented pattern of conduct of stalking in the specific environment via helicopters. Okay, where the sun is rising and setting, that is. And now the entity is engaging on a rising and setting of the light source, not the sun, in Los Angeles at the property of Alvarado Gardens. Okay, that's what you see, and that's exactly why Teresa Becerra, as I stated last week, this is Title 18 criminal conduct, using this as Title 18 criminal conduct. And they're also jointly monitoring on my cell phone, which is also occurring in the private space. Maria Solis Alvarez, who you see group stalking in the workplace, is also engaged in a sex offense while she's engaged in federal stalking in violation of Title 18, with knowledge of the fact that I'm physically nude, as she sends messages through the group chat, which is what Speaker Companies Incorporated uses as a part of the entity relevant to the workplace, because they use Speaker Companies, which is a third party, not a legitimate business. And you know that because the light source is over this property, and you know that because the entity is group stalking in helicopter at this property, and because the people of the state and literally the employees of Speaker Company, speaking to the illegitimacy of that company, it's a third party, and there's nothing that you're talking about under the guise of that third party business, Speaker Company business. It's nothing other than operation of my communication device while you're monitoring in concert with that corrupt law enforcement agency that is also documented heavily flying over my apartment, flying circles around my apartment while I'm in my apartment, where the light source is rising and setting through the windows of my apartment, where engineered light fills and covers all the walls and the ceilings inside of my apartment. That is the same third-party group stalker. That is indeed a sex offender engaged in state surveillance and sins, again, engaged in operation of my communication device with a sexually motivated predatory mindset, which is the documentation of a sex offender. This is sexual violence that's occurring in the workplace. Even if I'm physically at home, they are sending text messages under the guise of what is Speaker Company's business, and Speaker Companies is engaging in sexual violence accordingly. Again, it's not only the pattern of conduct, it's where the pattern of conduct is underway, and it's what the target individual may be engaged in while the pattern of conduct is underway. And it's also the means whereby the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct. So I want to make sure that you understand that. That's the same sex offender you see her keeping her back to me while the light source is over me at 10:42 in the morning. And the entity is group stalking by helicopter targeting through amplified helicopter activity, which it is no possible way that I can hear that helicopter. But that's exactly why I walk outside. This is the heavily documented pattern of targeting by a demon-possessed agency that's stalking in the most unheard of method for purposes of inflicting psychological torment and terror and horrifying an American citizen, stalking in a helicopter. And they're doing it in the environment where the sun is rising and setting, which is also how you know that the LAPD are group stalking, that they're demon possessed, and they're group stalking me, because that light source is specifically over me, where I live and where I work. It is rising in alignment to my window in the morning. It is setting in alignment to my bedroom window in the evening. My apartment is filled with engineered light, and this is the pattern of conduct that is captured over a prolonged period of time when I'm nowhere living or working in Los Angeles. That is, it's rising over me at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts as I wake up in the morning, and it is setting in alignment to me at that same Ontario Museum and Arts as I document it also at this time of year. There is no provision for the sun to be over this property, and it's also not the sun that's going to be captured at this property from the beginning to the end of the day. And that's the substance of all of the documentation that I have, while you're looking at a third-party group stalker going by the name of Maria Solis exhibiting mental illness. This is that behavior of a psychopath, and this is shared by CARLO Lopez, while a highly malicious demon-possessed entity in the workplace is engaged in the criminal elements of monitoring, and also engaged in what is ongoing obstruction of justice, criminal acts of intimidation as an entity that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring the documentation in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. All of this is captured. All of this that I'm speaking to right now is supported by the evidence. And I want to make sure that you understand that it's relevant to what is a distinct method for prosecuting in the workplace. And that they're already going to federal prison and being documented for being group stalkers. I'm showing you what is the malice of the people of the state and any state where the government is engaging in surveillance. There is no exception to any company name. There's no exception to any race, age, physical handicap, any asserted mental illness. Their mental illness is attributed to what is demon possession, because claiming that you're bipolar has nothing to do with your engaging in what is the demonic feature of stalking with activity creation and engaging in any of the three elements of monitoring in the specific environment. It's legally irrelevant, and it has nothing to do with their spiritual condition, which is again something that is revealed through the specific environment. The entity is relying on all of the things that you would focus on while you are ignorant about what is demonic activity, which is the criminal system of federal group stalking and monitoring, relying on the fact that they make a certain amount of money, relying on the fact that they're the title that they hold or position that they hold, or their socioeconomic class, or some position of power that they think makes them exempt or exceptional, and it doesn't, they are equally pathetic. While they are engaging in what is shameful, and this is group stalking as a whole population. When you have wives, husbands, children, some sort of spouse, some sort of life you should have, but I want to be clear, a population is devoting ongoing concerted effort to engage in surveillance and doing so in what is a highly malicious manner. This is supposed to be the secret society. There's nothing elite about it. And the entire Los Angeles Police Department has just lost its job, okay? Including the chief of police. And this is a demon-possessed agency that's acting in concert with the people of the state, going under the guise of what is speaker companies and illegitimate business, which, again, I'm going to drain the pockets. I want you to remember, while you're looking at Maria Solis Alvarez and CARLO Lopez, employees of a third-party company who are nothing other than demon-possessed group stalkers in the workplace, engaged in the P.O.C. with the state, the entity was group stalking in the same way during the telephone conversations that I documented with that same exact corrupt entity, while it was also flying directly over my office as I was typing out Teresa Becerra's criminal activity on the computer, which is subject to surveillance. All right. So I want you to remember that, because what the entity is doing, it's evidence against the entirety of that entity, and no one is forgetting that. It's an ongoing criminal conspiracy between Mary Jane and Joe, the state, and the people of the state. And this pattern of conduct is exactly what was underway, as I documented last week. As I already established last week, I just want to remind you about what Maria Solis Alvarez was doing last week while she was group stalking using a communication device, which was audible activity, while that same entity was group stalking with her. Okay, asking me questions. You're understanding the psychopath. They're monitoring. They're engaged in federal stalking. You know exactly who I am. You know exactly what happened. And the entirety of that conversation was asking me questions about what happened. Okay, that's also relevant to the harassment as an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. I do not have to know Teresa Becerra to identify her condition and her criminal system and who she is acting in concert with. All right, it's the state's P.O.C. It is currently 4:07 p.m. and Maria Solis Alvarez is engaged in what is federal stalking conduct, and I want you to make sure that you do understand the terrorism that I am subject to, that I have a right to not be subject to in the workplace. And this is a threat to your life while you're merely trying to make a paycheck. And the third-party employees of speaker companies are engaged in what is ceaseless, life-threatening criminal activity of the highest level with regard to malice that is unfathomable. And this is the ability of the P.O.C. to show you the multiple levels of malice that are at play while a government is engaging in a criminal system necessarily underway in concert with them, while they are surrounded by the body of evidence where the pattern of conduct is underway. And there is no legally relevant or constitutionally grounded argument to present anything else other than that, okay? And this is also why all 59 units that live at the crime scene are going to federal prison, because you literally witnessed the property manager engaging in criminal conduct in concert with the residents. It is hypocrisy at the heights. You literally witnessed the regional manager, property manager, engaging in what is violation of federal housing policies while she is group stalking with the government. And you're literally witnessing somebody that would like to consider herself a wife and a mother, and she is in custody of minor children engaging in sexually violent, entirely psychotic, obsessive, demonic behavior that is criminal. And she has custody of minor children. Okay, that's exactly why you are permeating the lives of the people of the state to neutralize and remove every threat that they pose, not only to the target individual that they engage in a criminal act against, but the people of the state are a threat to each other. Understand, this criminal conduct is revealing a very demented mind state. These are ticking time bombs that are together exacting violence against one person, that is the target individual, myself. They are a threat to each other. That also includes the government. The government is a threat not only to the target individual, the government is a target to the public, while they're holding hands, engaging in criminal conduct together with the people of the state. You are permeating the lives of this population that are engaging in this criminal conduct together. And that's the reality of what is public corruption. And this is presenting an ongoing emergency. This emergency exists in the workplace. And this is why you are draining the pockets to a debilitating degree, because you're talking about life-threatening criminal conduct, and it's occurring while you're at work. Okay? The government engaging in what is terrorism while you are at work. The government that is harassing you, the government while you are at work. Okay? It is currently 4:10 p.m. and this is P.O.C.